I'm not sure when it started, this morbid fascination, or perhaps, this morbid curse. My parents, bless their well-meaning but utterly misguided souls, thought it was important for me to understand life's full cycle. And so, from the tender age of 6, I became a regular at funerals. Not just family funerals, mind you. Oh no. Neighbors, distant acquaintances, even people whose names I'd barely registered. If there was a funeral, little Arthur was there, dressed in a miniature suit, a solemn expression plastered on his face. Most kids had nightmares about monsters under the bed. I had nightmares about velvet-lined caskets and the smell of lilies. I learned to distinguish between the cries of a grieving widow and a shocked child. I knew the subtle differences in the way people held themselves, the way their eyes glazed over, the way their hands trembled. Funerals were my classroom, and grief was my curriculum. There was one face, though, that haunted me more than any other. Her name was Eleanor Vance. She was a few years older than me, a quiet girl from down the street with long, dark braids and eyes that seemed to hold a perpetual sadness even when she smiled. The first time I saw her in a casket, I was 8. It was a closed casket, but her parents were inconsolable, and the hushed whispers of a tragic accident filled the air. I remembered her, vividly, because she was the first person my age I'd seen go away. Then, a year later, another funeral. This time, it was an open casket. And there she was again. Eleanor Vance. Same dark braids, same quiet features, though her skin was now a waxy pallor. My 8-year-old mind couldn't reconcile it. I tugged on my mother's sleeve. "Mom, isn't that Eleanor?" "But she already had a funeral." My mother shushed me, attributing it to a child's confusion, a misunderstanding of death. "No, dear, that's just a different person who looks a little like her." But I knew it was her. It happened again. And again. Over the next decade, as I grew from a solemn child into a withdrawn teenager, Eleanor Vance died 4 more times. Each time, a funeral. Each time, sometimes open, sometimes closed, but always the same name, the same family, the same profound grief emanating from her parents. The last time, I was 16. I stood at the back of the chapel, a cold sweat prickling my skin, watching her parents, older now, more broken, accept condolences for the 6th time. The horror wasn't just the repeated death, it was the chilling impossibility of it. Was I losing my mind? Was this some elaborate, cruel joke? Was I cursed to witness the same person's demise, over and over? The trauma of it became a heavy cloak, suffocating me. I started seeing her face in crowds, a fleeting glimpse, a shadow, and my heart would seize with a terror that transcended mere fear. I stopped attending funerals after that. The very words sent shivers down my spine. I tried to forget Eleanor Vance, to dismiss it as a series of vivid, disturbing hallucinations brought on by years of exposure to death. I went to college, moved across the country, built a new life, but the image of her, dead and re-dead, was etched into my soul. Then, last week, I visited my hometown. A chance encounter. I was in a small coffee shop, waiting for my order, when I heard a familiar voice. A quiet, almost melancholic tone. I turned slowly, dread coiling in my stomach. And there she was. Sitting at a table, sipping tea, her dark braids now streaked with silver, but her eyes, those same perpetually sad eyes. Eleanor Vance. Alive. My breath hitched. I felt the blood drain from my face. I must have looked like I'd seen a ghost, because she looked up, a faint frown creasing her brow. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice soft, hesitant. I couldn't speak. My mind raced, trying to process the impossible. 6 funerals. 6 times I'd seen her, or thought I'd seen her, dead. "Eleanor?" I finally managed, the name a raw whisper. She blinked, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. "Yes? Do I know you?" "Arthur," I croaked. "Arthur Davies. From down the street." A slow recognition dawned on her face. "Oh, Arthur! My goodness, it's been years. You've grown so much." She smiled, a genuine, warm smile that sent a fresh wave of horror through me. This was the smile of someone who was alive. I thought you were. I trailed off, unable to voice the unspeakable. She tilted her head, a hint of confusion. Thought I was what? And then, a woman walked up to her table, carrying 2 more coffees. She had the same dark braids, the same quiet features, the same sad eyes. She was an exact replica. Sorry I took so long, Eleanor, the woman said, handing her a cup. She then looked at me, a polite, distant smile. Eleanor gestured to her. Arthur, this is my sister, Elara. My world imploded. Elara. Not Eleanor. Elara, Eleanor continued. Arthur used to live down the street. He's probably thinking of our family. You know, with everything. Her voice dropped, a genuine sadness now in her tone. Elara passed away a few years ago. It was very sudden. We miss her terribly. Elara. Not Eleanor. My mind reeled, piecing together the fragments of a decades-long nightmare. The first funeral, the closed casket. The second, the open casket, but it was Elara, not Eleanor. And the others? All Elara. My parents, their well-meaning but vague explanations. The community, perhaps not wanting to dwell on the repeated tragedies of the Vance family, or simply not realizing the extent of my young, impressionable mind's focus. I had attended 6 funerals for Elara Vance. 6 times I had mourned a girl I barely knew, convinced it was Eleanor, the girl whose face had become synonymous with death in my psyche. 6 times I had been traumatized by the sight of a dead girl, only to find the original alive and well. The horror isn't that Eleanor died 6 times. The horror is that I was so deeply, profoundly wrong. The horror is the years of manufactured grief, the self-inflicted trauma, the paranoia that festered because I believed in impossibility. The horror is realizing that the monster wasn't in the casket, or in the grave, but in my own mind, twisting reality into a grotesque, recurring nightmare. And now, every time I see Eleanor, every time I hear her name, a cold dread washes over me. Because somewhere, deep down, a part of me still expects to see her in a casket for the 7th time. And I know, with a chilling certainty, that I'll never truly escape the shadow of the twin I never knew, and the funerals that weren't hers.